Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk About Sleep. Just like last video, this week I'm going to refrain from showing the book, although, like I said, I have that picture back there. And as I always say, these videos are for educational purposes only. What we're going to talk today about is something which I find a lot of people misuse this term, so I want to make a video on it specifically. The term sleep cycles, right? What are they? Right? Because it's important to know what they are, especially as like wearable technology becomes more prevalent, right? People are wearing, those O-rings and the various Google devices and whatnot, Apple Watch, which measure sleep and sleep cycles purportedly. But what are they, right? So I wanted to discuss that in this video and kind of shed some light on what it actually is. Okay, so when we fall asleep, the brain, as you know from watching these videos, is not just shut off, right? It's a process which occurs, and there's what's called a neurochemical cascade. Okay, so when the brain goes to sleep, it starts off in what's called non-REM stage 1. Okay, non-REM sleep stage 1. So you've heard of REM sleep before. I've made videos on it, several videos on REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is not dream sleep, although we do actually dream a little bit during non-REM sleep. But basically, if you want to think of it this way, non-REM sleep is kind of restorative for the body. REM sleep is restorative for the mind. Okay, it's not entirely true, but for our purposes, think of it that way. Okay, so non-REM stage 1. This is very, very light sleep. This is the kind of sleep that you would get if you fell asleep on a subway, for example, or if you were at class and fell asleep, or if you're watching a video like this and nodded off. Hopefully that does not happen here. But that's non-REM stage 1 sleep. We spend about 5 to 15% of our night there. Okay, again, not restorative, not restful, but it is sleep. Okay, and it's actually pretty cool. You can see during a sleep test, the brain waves switch over from wakefulness into sleep. That transition. It's actually pretty amazing to think about, how that really happens. Nobody really even understands why or how that happens. That transition from the brain cells going into from an active state to a sleep state, or a wake state to a sleep state. But anyway, that's non-REM stage 1. Then we pass into from N1 to N2, non-REM stage 2. What non-REM stage 2 or N2 is, that's kind of the baseline of our sleep. So if you look at a graph of somebody's sleep architecture, we call it, non-REM stage 2 is kind of present throughout the night. And we kind of move in and out of that depending on where we are in the sleep cycle, in a sleep cycle. Okay? For those neuro nerds out there, this is where we have K complexes and sleep spindles. These are things that you would see during a sleep test. Okay, we spend about 45 to 55% of our night in stage N2. Okay, non-REM stage 3 or N3, that's what we call delta wave sleep. Okay, and if we're talking about brain waves, during N3 sleep, the brain waves it's unmistakable. They're big and undulating, and it's the brain kind of in this what we call synchronized state. So all the brain cells are kind of not moving, but they're in this kind of they're electrically discharging in this very very synchronized fashion. Okay, and you can see that during a sleep test. This is very, very difficult to wake out of. Okay, so if you if you took like a 2-hour nap, for example, chances are your brain would go into this non-REM or N3 sleep, non-REM stage 3 sleep. And when the brain is in that sleep, because it's so synchronized and so deep, it's very hard to be woken out of that. If you wake up out of that, you're still going to feel tired. Your brain wants to go back to sleep. That's what we call sleep inertia. Okay? So that's the non-REM stages. Then a cycle ends with a period of REM sleep. Okay, and that's where we dream, although we do dream in non-REM, but the dreams we remember are in REM sleep. So we end with a period of REM, and then what happens is that takes about 90 minutes. Okay, let's say 60 to 120 minutes, roughly 90 minutes. then what happens is, so they go through the different stages, the non-REM stages, have a period of REM, then the brain either wakes up, like actually fully wakes up, or goes back into N1 or back into N2, and then another cycle continues. Okay? So this process of going from non-REM to REM, it takes about 90 minutes. Okay? And that is one sleep cycle. Okay? That's what a sleep cycle is. Process begins again, and that's sleep cycle 2, 3, 4. And we have about 4 or 5 of these over the course of the night. Again, about 90 minutes in length. Okay? So you go through non-REM, and with a period of REM, and then the cycle continues. We spend about 20 to 25% of our night in REM sleep, and those periods get longer and longer as the night goes along. So as the night progresses, the sleep cycle, each sleep cycle is dominated more and more by REM sleep. Okay? Whereas in the first half of the night, we have a lot of that delta wave, that N3 sleep. Okay? So that deep sleep that's hard to wake up from, nature has made it so that way that's in the beginning of the night, not so much at the end. And REM sleep, which is actually similar to wake in the way it looks, it's easy to wake up from, that's more in the second half of the night. Okay, really incredible to think about. All right, but that's what sleep cycles are. Okay, those can be disrupted by various sleep disorders. If somebody is chronically sleep deprived, that can affect them as well. Like, for example, if somebody is chronically sleep deprived, and then one night they get like extra sleep, that night they may get more of that N3 sleep. And that N3 sleep may be in the second half of the night, which leads them to waking up not feeling as refreshed, right? I'm sure we've all experienced that. It's like, okay, I'm sleep deprived for a few days. I try to, quote, make up for it by getting extra sleep on this one day. And I wake up from that and I say, well, I slept extra. Why don't I feel better? It's because the brain is trying to realign itself. And in doing so, it's getting extra N3 sleep, which makes it harder to wake up from. Okay? So it's not like 1 minute to 1 minute, and these are the reasons why. All right. So that's what sleep cycles are. If you use them in regular conversation, make sure you you say the right things. All right. And like I said, this is going to become more important as we have more and more wearable technology, which is kind of its own problem because there's not really any way to tell what part of the cycle you're in unless you actually have brainwaves. So that's a different topic. All right. But yeah, so that's today's video. If you like this video, please click like. Please share it with your friends and family. And please subscribe to the channel. And that's all I want to say. Until next time, sleep well.